motor vehicle for life, an individual who uses a...
All right, everybody, it seems like the House has moved on to other business, and we are still getting playback from Mike Pence's surprise visit to Afghanistan, so we will take you back to that. Thanks so much for watching Fox News Now.
I mean, in a very real sense, that deal didn't prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. It virtually guaranteed that at some point in the future that they would. What we're looking for is new legislation that would create a framework where sanctions would be reimposed on Iran, bring the world community around those sanctions in the event that they ever take steps to develop a nuclear weapon. The president's made it clear that we will not tolerate the leading state sponsor of terror in the world, in Tehran, to obtain a usable nuclear weapon. And but working with the Congress, we hope to develop legislation to accomplish that. With regard to the special counsel, let me say we're fully cooperating with the special counsel, and we'll continue to. But I have to tell you that what the American people should know is that President Trump and I are completely focused on the issues that are most important to them. And that's about security, it's about prosperity. I think the incredible progress that we've made in the economy this year, where we see the stock market setting records, we see 2 million new jobs created, we see optimism among businesses large and small at levels that we haven't seen for decades. I think you see an investment in our military. I was proud to announce today in front of all these heroes here in Afghanistan that the president, before he signed the largest tax cut in American history, he signed one of the largest increases in defense spending since the days of Ronald Reagan. These are the issues that the American people care most about, things that bear upon their security, their prosperity. That's where the president and I are focused. Special counsel has a job to do. We'll cooperate with them as they do that job, but we're gonna focus on the job the American people hired us to do.
Did you hear any today from President Ghani or from CEO Abdullah about when parliamentary and presidential elections will take place in Afghanistan? And perhaps our lawyer Jago? When did they commit to do it?
I brought the issue up and said that as we stand shoulder to shoulder with the Afghan army in the fight against terrorism here in their country, that we expect them to continue to make progress on the kind of political reforms that are be necessary to give the people of Afghanistan confidence in their democracy. We reaffirmed our commitment to support their efforts for parliamentary elections. In 2018, President Ghani told me that their election commission is developing a framework for those elections in 2018 and also making plans for a presidential election in 2019. It's as we defeat the enemy, as we make clear the resolve of the American people to defeat those who threaten our people and our country here in Afghanistan and help people of Afghanistan stand up a secure nation. We also want them to stand up a democracy that represents all the people of Afghanistan. And I was encouraged to hear the progress they were making in that.
Jeremy.
Mr. Vice President, in the 4 months since the President announced this new strategy for Afghanistan, you said that you've seen signs of progress on the ground. The Afghans are seeing signs of progress on the ground. This comes after the President authorized an increase of several thousand more U.S. troops here. Should the American people prepare themselves for more U.S. troops to come into Afghanistan to be deployed here? And on a separate matter, I'm wondering, as we approach the first year of the Trump administration, have you seen any signs of change in the president in his first year in office? Is he still the same man who was elected, or has he, like many presidents who enter this office, been changed a little bit by the weight of the Oval Office?
Well, on the first question, I think it's important for the American people to know that the decision the President made this August was as much about tactics and strategies on the ground as about military personnel. You know, we have authorized additional military personnel on the ground, but the President's decision was to put essentially American military personnel in a better position to support the Afghan army as they take the fight to the enemy. Our objective here is not to fight the war against terrorists for the people of Afghanistan. It's to support them more effectively with air power, with the extraordinary expertise of the most powerful military in the world, and to come alongside them in that respect. And mostly, as President Ghani reflected on me today, it's also to send a message to those that would threaten the people of the United States from Afghanistan, and those who would threaten the peace and security of the people of Afghanistan, that we're here to stay. We're here to stay until they're defeated, until freedom wins. And that message alone, what I heard from President Ghani today, is having its good effect. We've been withdrawing from Afghanistan for the last 6 years. And as I said today, weakness arouses evil. The withdrawal of the United States over the last 6 years has emboldened the enemies of the people of Afghanistan and the enemies of the people of the United States in this region. And by making the decision to provide a sufficient number of troops to support Afghans more effectively as they take the fight to the enemy, using our total air dominance in Afghanistan and the technology that we have on the ground and the expertise to assist them in the fight, we believe creates a real opportunity and a pathway for victory.
Do you think there could be more U.S. troops headed to Afghanistan in the future?
That'll be a decision for the Commander-in-Chief in the days ahead. But again, this is as much about not just personnel, but it's also about what military people call the authorities that we've been given. You know, I said today that you know bureaucrats don't win wars, soldiers do. And one of the things you've seen in President Trump as a commander-in-chief is he's empowered our battlefield commanders to make real-time decisions, whether it's here in Afghanistan following the South Asia Strategy's announcement, or just as importantly in Iraq and in Syria, where literally American forces and our allies have virtually crushed ISIS out of existence. When the president and I were campaigning for these jobs, he made it clear that we were going to hunt down and destroy ISIS. And to see the progress that we've made, driving ISIS from Iraq and virtually driving them out of existence, even taking back the capital of their so-called caliphate in Raqqa, is a testament to our armed forces, to our allies, and also it's a testament to the way this president has allowed our war fighters to make real-time decisions on the battlefield, and that's also the policy here in Afghanistan.
Has the president changed? Second question, as far as the president, as we approach this first year in office, do you believe that he has been changed by the office at all? Has he changed the office?
Well, you know, the president and I are very close, and you know, I'm very fond of him, and I think one of the most refreshing things about President Donald Trump is he hasn't changed. The American people at the end of his first year in office see the same person that was campaigning for the office. And more importantly, they see him doing the things that he said he would do. I mean, when the president said that he was going to pass the largest tax cut in in the history of this country, a lot of people were skeptical, but he drove forward. He accomplished it. I mean, when the president said we're going to roll back federal red tape, when he said that we're going to appoint conservatives to the courts at every level. The one thing about President Trump that I found most inspiring is that he's a man of his word. He says what he means, and he means what he says. And I think the confidence the American people feel about our economy, about our security, is all a reflection of the fact that we have a president that's really fighting for them.
Ken.
Thanks, Mr. Vice President. On the recent Alabama Senate race, you didn't campaign for Roy Moore. I was wondering if you were relieved that Roy Moore did not win the race, whether there was concerns that it might taint the Republican Party at large. And then just to follow on to Margaret's question, you've talked about the cooperation that the President and you are willing to do on the Mueller investigation. Are you willing personally to sit down with Bob Mueller's team if he does in fact ask you for an interview or some sort of opportunity?
Well, let me say with regard to the Alabama Senate race, the people of Alabama have spoken. I was pleased to support Senator Luther Strange. He was a very strong champion of President Trump's agenda in the Senate, and I was pleased not only to support him but to campaign for him. But you know, the day after the election, the president reached out to Senator-elect Jones, and we're going to do everything we can to work with him and, frankly, work with other Democrats in the Congress. One of the most disappointing things to me about the past year has been the unwillingness of Democrats in Congress to really step up and find things that we can work on together on behalf of the American people. I mean, when President Kennedy passed historic tax cuts, when Ronald Reagan passed historic tax cuts, they were bipartisan. And I confess I was honestly disappointed that not one Democrat in the House or Senate voted for the largest tax cut in American history, a tax cut that brought real relief to middle-class families, that doubled the per-child tax credit, that lowered the business tax rate in ways that, frankly, the last Democrat administration was advocating consistently. But hope springs eternal, and whether it be Senator-elect Jones or other Democrats, as we move on to issues like infrastructure and welfare reform in 2018, I promise